So, President Bush's father might have been involved in a fascist plot to overthrow the government back in 1933. In 1934, a General Smedley Butler came forward claiming to have evidence of just such a plot. General Butler was a public figure holding, among other decorations, more than one Medal of Honor. Butler had parlayed this notoriety into leadership positions among various veterans organizations, even supporting the veteran army that marched on Washington looking for their promised benefits. It was in this position that Butler was approached by Gerald McGuire and Bob Doyle. At first, they just asked Butler to criticize some administrative issues in the American Legion during an upcoming speech, but when the speech was delivered, the entire speech focused on condemning FDR for moving away from the gold standard. Additionally, McGuire had shown Butler that they had over $100,000 in the bank to help with this campaign, which was a wildly suspicious amount of money for them to have. Butler asked to speak with their immediate superior and was introduced to Robert Sterling Clark, heir to the Singer sewing machine fortune. Clark was much more direct with Butler. He was afraid that this move away from the gold standard was going to cost him his fortune. He said, "I have $33 million in the bank, and I am willing to spend half to protect the other half." At this point, Butler refused to participate, but McGuire continued sending him postcards as he visited 1933 Italy, Germany, and France. When McGuire returned to the States, he told Butler everything. He had collected the money for his campaign from the richest capitalists in the country, including Prescott Bush and the DuPont family. He had visited these countries to see how effectively veterans operated inside their government. Based on his observations, he had come to the conclusion that the only way to save the United States from financial ruin was to replace the government with a military dictatorship made up of American veterans. And why was he telling Butler all of this? Because they wanted Butler to be the dictator. They promised him an army of 500,000 men and the backing of every rich man. The first thing Butler did was he grabbed a witness. He reached out to the Philadelphia record writer Paul Comley French, and when McGuire met with the two of them, he reiterated his positions, adding that he felt fascism was the only recourse for America. Butler and French immediately went to the Special Congressional Committee on Un-American Activities, and when Butler first testified, they dismissed him entirely, but when French testified, they started paying attention, and then they subpoenaed McGuire, and he was clearly shitting himself on the stand while being very evasive. By the end of their investigation, the committee said they were certain that these attempts had been deliberated, these had been prepared, and could have been executed if and when the financial supporters considered it appropriate.